All right, little advertisement. If you need some notes for conics, you can go to my website. I'm Mrs. Clarkson, and under Algebra 2 Homework Help, there's a little playlist that will give you some good notes for parabolas and circles. All right, most of my kids did number 4 in class, so I'm going to have us go ahead and look at number 5. It's a little trickier as well, so hopefully that'll help you out, get through a tricky one. This is a parabola. How do I know that? Only one of them is squared. The y is squared, which will mean it will either be one of those guys. And so the first thing we need to do is put the y's together and then put everything else to the other side. So again, you're going to have the squared term and the one that is hanging out with him, and then everything else move it over. So this becomes a positive 8x, and that becomes a positive 7 when you move it. You divide by 2 and square, which would be 9. So again, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to add a 9 and add a 9. So I get y plus 3 squared. Again, square root, sign of the middle. And then I have 8x plus 16. Now, you can't have that. So we need to divide everything by 8. And when we do that, we end up with 1/8 of the y plus 3. And over here, we end up getting x plus 2. Now, some people are like, what? What are you doing? The other way that we can look at that is if you have this, you can factor out an x and then divide factor out an 8 and then divide by that 8 on both sides. So I like to keep this guy hanging out with this guy and this guy hanging out with this guy, because then for our vertex, we can just take the opposite of what's with the x and the opposite of what's with the y. So again, this is my y is squared, which is weird. That's different. And so this is like x equals. So I tell my kids, like, you know, it kind of looks like the parabola is kind of looking in that direction there. And it's positive, so that means it's going to look like this. So the reason why that is so important is my p-value. This is 1/4p, so this must be 2 times 4 would give me 8. So p-value is 2. That means that once I get my vertex here, I now know where to start counting out my p's. So I go over 1, 2, over 1, 2, and that's my parabola. So 3 things. You need to know the direction of which one is squared. So again, if the y is squared, it kind of looks like this. You need to know the vertex. You get that from where it's hanging out with the x and what's hanging out with the y. And you need to know the p-value. Once you have all of that, then you're just naming all the parts you've already drawn. So the focus would be at really 0, -3. The directrix is this. It hits the x-axis, so it means it's x equals. And it hits it at, where was this? This was at 2, and when I went over 2 more, so that's at -4 that it hits it at. This one hits the y-axis, so it's y equals, and it hits it at -3. This is what we consider a horizontal one, but if you just have this drawing, that would be good as well.